Hello, Moon to Moon. How are you? It's been a minute. I wasn't planning on recording a podcast today here under the Aquarius moon, almost full, but I suddenly felt this strong desire to record. And what felt powerful to do is to be in my gifts and pull some cards for you and for me for this Pisces eclipse here in Virgo season. That's tomorrow night or Friday morning, depending on where you are. I guess maybe even Friday afternoon, depending on where you are. Here at the end of these eclipses, in a polarity I love so much, which is Virgo-Pisces. I'm going to riff a little bit at the beginning here, as I do. And I'll just know when it's time to turn to the reading. So, when we're in these eclipse windows, so much happens. It's like, and everything feels so dilated. You know, it's collective, it's personal, it's full of grief and wonder. I mean, the 1-2 punch of Dolly Parton and Tim Curry. I mean, and Hayden. I mean, geez. And at the same time, I feel like things are coming together in ways that are hyper magical, um, psychedelic, even, where everything's connecting and what wasn't clear becomes clear. I certainly love it when that happens. Or even as I teach on anti certainty and becoming people who play with mystery. I sure like it when it's like the veil lifts and I can see what I've been wanting to see, but I could only see like what was right in front of me. That feels so nice. I've been having a lot of that, especially in the last few days with Virgo's arrival and now Mercury in Virgo. Just like for someone who's living on the other side of the polarity so much of the time. If you're new to Moon, welcome. I'm a Pisces sun. I have a Pisces Mercury. My sun's at 13. My Mercury's at 18. And my Venus is at 23. And I like to say that when you have a lot of personal planets in a sign like that, I think we just naturally adapt to balance ourselves by leaning into the polarity. I think that way before I knew my chart and had any interest in astrology, even as a child, the world was giving me information to help me see what I needed to balance myself. And that was more Virgo. So it was like, I don't know how I'm going to do in this in school if I don't start learning some of these abilities. Um, as a person who loves school. And, unfortunately, I think for me and for a lot of very intuitive humans who are very porous and picking up on a lot of information, um, I think that we can develop a lot of hypervigilance um, with Virgo in order to survive here. It's like compassion. We're trying to survive. It seems like people need this to be done in a really tight, perfect way. And so when you're actively engaged in unshaming and disentangling from the grind and disentangling from perfectionism and urgency and hypervigilance, as I am and as we do in my spaces and here on Moon to Moon, it's um it's like a practice. It's a practice of holding the unshaming alongside one's the pleasures of refinement, the pleasures of tinkering, the pleasures of the process, the pleasures of editing. I think, it came up in Living Emergence yesterday in my community space in our Living Virgo conversation that, what's the distinction between refinement and perfectionism? And for me, it's like, how does it feel? Because refinement feels really good to me. Like, I think it's very sexy. Um, it's just like massaging, it just feels so good to like get there, just like the knife that's so sharp. Yes, I enjoy refinement, but perfectionism I don't enjoy. That feels shamey, disciplinary, unloving. It's quite awful, actually. Like uh, when you learn to tell the subtle energetics between the two, it starts to more and more just be so obvious. Like, oh, this is the pleasures of refinement. Oh, this is the pleasures because um so many things that I love in my life have come from my refinement processes. Like writing a book, like I spilled it all out in the first draft. It's a much more Jupiterian form of writing. It was just like no editing, just like get it out. Then you go in and you refine. And part of that is painful because of the process of elimination and the editing is kind of like dying. We had there was a huge theme of grief, Virgo and grief in our conversation yesterday in Living Emergence. Um, Grief, I think, is a huge part of all the mutables. But as we turn towards autumn, winter in the Northern Hemisphere, I mean, Virgo is holding that door. There's a high degree of autumn, winter awareness in Virgo energy where you're looking ahead and like what wants to live, what do we need to preserve, and what do we need to toss. Um, Caring for like finishing a manuscript. There's like you feel like you're dying and you're also just like in death constantly because the refinement process is going to be what allows the book to live beyond your hands. Like the book is like dying to me as I refine it because once once the refinement deadline has been reached and I have to abandon the refinement process because it's not complete, it's abandoned, then my book is no longer in my hands and it's out of my hands. It's out of my hands. So there's like a death process with your child. It's like there's a lot there that I think is part of being with Virgo. that's like high skill, you know? I mean, it's like a more mature skill set because we're coming to autumn, winter here. So it's the most like mature of the first six signs, the first half. And I don't mean Virgo sons, Virgo people are more mature. I mean Virgo in all of us is a maturing energy because it has to do with looking ahead and being a person of preparation, preservation, care, discernment, because we love something so much we want it to live, you know? So I think there's a lot of there's like we're growing our capacity for all that about life, death, life when we get to Virgo. So that's really in the air, and that may be really up for you, and that may be in the tarot reading that I'm about to give you. I pulled it for all of us listeners, and take what you like and leave the rest. What else can I share? What's alive in me too is my daughter leaves tomorrow to go back to college. I got to spend some really nice time with her here at the very end of the summer. And yeah, uh, it's so cool to watch your kid become a young adult. And um, it's so, the word I'm hearing is honorable, which is funny because I don't really say that word much. Like, it's an honor to be with her as she holds her future and her dreams and fears around it, and just be her witness and celebrate what a brave and wise human she is. Just thank goodness for all the unshaming I've done with my parenting, because a younger version of me would have had just so much a harder time being able to hold that with her, because I'd be looking for clues for where I fucked up, basically. Looking for clues for like where I'm to blame or she's blaming me. Looking for clues where she's mad at me, where she's resentful. Looking for ways I'm supposed to fix things. And yeah, it's just such a liberation for our relationship and for her that I can listen to the words coming out of her mouth and not be over there in my own shame spiral. I mean, just so grateful for the ways that everything that I teach about and talk constantly about, like, has actual practical consequences, you know, like in my life. One of the most important being the kind of the kind of mother that actually wants to emerge through me if I would let it. How do I learn to let it? By calming all of my shame parts, you know, like call unshaming as a practice of calming yourself, and by being the one who's there to listen to them and hold them so that they don't project all of their fears onto your relationships. And let me tell you, this child has 5 planets in Scorpio. Okay, so anything that I might be projecting onto her beneath the surface and veneer of my words, she would be able to pick up on, and she would decide that I'm not a safe person to tell her vulnerabilities to. And I don't need to be the person that she tells her vulnerabilities to, but it is a beautiful experience to witness. And it, like, she is so powerful in her vulnerability. And it is like an absolute sacred, precious treasure that I am a person that she will reveal that to. It's the only way that is possible for someone like her is if she can feel my presence with her as a listener and not over there trying to cope with how I'm doing about it. I would just become um, slowly removed from that part of her as a consequence. And I know that. So, is one of the reasons it's extremely, I do all this because I know what the consequences are relationally if I don't, especially with myself. All right. Yeah, a lot of motherhood themes have been up for me lately. So I'm going to dive in. I'm going to dive in. I just pulled the cards right before I pressed record. I haven't, it's going to be emergent per usual. A bunch of overseers came out. I don't know if I'll have time for them, but I might. What I mean by that is sometimes I get jumpers or like I'll get this feeling like, oh, I need to check under the deck, or oh, I need to open the deck. Oh, I need to pull card number 4 from the top. And I see all those as like extra ones that want to come, and I call them the overseers because they're like overseeing the spread as high level teachers. So this is my 11 card spread that I learned years ago from Lindsay Mack. I don't even know now if this is like how she teaches it or even how she taught it then, because I've just been doing it myself for so long that this is its current iteration through me. But this is our collective reading for the Pisces full moon eclipse. Take what you like and leave the rest. So, the primary card here for us is the 10 of Wands, and the contributing card is the 5 of Discs. So, we're leading with two, I would say, like trigger type cards or cards that can represent don't like feelings. Don't like, I think I got that from Carolyn Elliott. She would talk about don't like situations, like when we just have things in our life, we just don't like it. We don't like the situation. Okay. It's called a don't like situation. I would say that um, 5 of Wands and 5 of Discs, 5 of Pentacles here are sort of don't like situations or don't like feelings, don't like states, or maybe more appropriately, don't like phases of a cycle. That feels more true to me. By the way, this is Pagan Otherworlds deck if you're watching in YouTube. Yeah, let me get these friends out here. What I'm sensing here is how we're being invited to see the consequences The consequences on our relationship to all that we're bringing to the world. There are creativities, there are passions. The consequences when we look at those energetics, one's as your energy traveling into the world, your energy in contact with the world, your energy in impact with the world. The consequences of that when you're this conditioning of scarcity is one of the most painful, cruel, isolating distortions of colonial capitalism and patriarchy. I teach fives as worldviews that result from trauma. And when we see the world and reality through the lens of a five, because of the trauma we experienced when we were not properly nurtured to understand context or to help us to hold what was so overwhelming about it. It's like glasses through which we see reality, we see only through the perspective of that five. I did an episode maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, called The Fives and the Fool, because for me, I feel that we all have a primary five, and it's like the primary pain, the theft of innocence. And for me, I would say it's Five of Cups, but we have strong Five of Pentacles conditioning in our world. And the consequence is that we strain and we strain and we strain. The hypervigilance, the burnout, creating and creating and creating without slowing down to be with what we've made and allow it to thrive. Endless efforting without trusting in the value of the thing and holding with it. These patterns of how we bring our energy to the world when they come from scarcity is coming from a place of I'll expend and I'll expend and I'll expend and I will not be supported. I'll I can do it and I can do it and I can do it, but underneath it there's no trust that will be seen, appreciated, supported. Fed in reciprocity. And perhaps For you, this full moon is bringing things to light to help you see how this pattern is updating. And before I even get to this next card, I have to ask you, are you willing to update this pattern? I'm not trying to be sassy, except that I am, because nothing ever changes unless we're willing to change. And we don't leave the five without agreeing to leave it. We just don't. That's a little Capricorn moon. Not coddling. It's just true. Nothing changes unless we agree to it. The worldview doesn't shift because the world changes. We enter the world with our new worldview and we change the world. That's the way it is. And we're all doing it, one person at a time. The matriarchy is already here. And each of us understanding that we cannot change unless we agree to change, which means surrendering the worldview from which the patterns emerged and watch how the patterns change. Okay, here we go. The teacher is the King of Wands then. That is a beautiful King of Wands right there. I am into it. I want the whole look. It's fabulous. And there's intimations of the strength card here because there's a lion. So the teacher, the teacher is the king. The teacher is the king. The king is the part of you who takes the energy into the field and holds the pose while that energy creates impacts and brings evidence back to you, and then processes and understands that information, and then keeps going and participating and is learning to. The king has skill because the king understands that this is a constant process of hitting the field with your impact, contact with the field with your energy, your creativity, your passion, your putting your energy into the world, allowing that to create some kind of effect, noting the effects, and then internally being with yourself through those effects, and then continuing to keep going. The reason this king is so masterful is because it's not about being fearless. It's taking the lion with you, like understanding that what you need to be afraid of is the part of you that is afraid to handle evidence, the evidence of your impact and your contact with the world. That's the part of you to be afraid of. Because if you're afraid of that part of you, then you won't participate. You won't live a life of emergent creativity because you will be afraid that you can't handle the evidence. The evidence of the impacts was, I assure you, you have. So, skill set is in learning to not be afraid of evidence, not be afraid to be with what's here, not be able to be afraid to look at it. Um, King of Wands is so dynamic because of this alchemical ability to go back and forth between stepping into the world and then coming back to alchemize what came up in you. And then now you've just molted, go back out. You're constantly molting. This is not about coming to a state of owning King of Wands and never being any different than that. So if you could just get to that point, you could finally participate. No, you become King of Wands because you get highly skilled at alchemy and molting, at being able to stand the high sensation of witnessing the evidence of your impacts. That is King maturity. So this is a maturation. This is a maturation. And it's very truth bringing. It's very clarifying, this energy of the spread. Truth is high sensation. At the root of it, Six of Swords. And I've made podcasts before called I Am the Ferryman from this one. We are in a passage. At the root of it is this is a highly liminal time. Like, wowza, summer 2026. We're all in rapid maturation. We are in rapid transformation. We are moving from one way of being to another way of being. We're not to the other side yet. So, at the root, we're in a boat. And what's under us is water. What's under us is water. So it's a little shaky. It's a little wobbly. So what is holding you? What is anchoring you? Who is your guide? What who are the people? What are the relationships? What are the habits? What are the ways of talking to yourself? What are the rituals to hold you? What are the containers to hold you as you travel right now from one way of being to another? This is the root. We're moving from a time of Seven of Swords into a time of the Hermit, the card associated with Virgo. What I'm hearing is we're surrendering a way of relating to the mind that is in overthinking. Overthinking, overanalyzing, hyper editing in order to fall into a form of haptic intelligence, a way of being that is deeply grounded and intuitive, one step at a time, the most appropriate next move, alive, emergent, listening, wolf ears. What you hear is the lantern lighting the way. You know the way. You know the way. You do know the way. Inside yourself, it may feel like you're in a state of Four of Swords. This feels like no moves quite yet. Like it may just feel very like not yet. A grounded, I'm taking in my information. I'm looking at all that's here. I'm with it. I'm staying with it. But I'm not making any big moves quite yet. The wisdom of listening, the wisdom of space to integrate. I'll know in the morning. This feels very wise. Highly recommend. um, 8 of Pentacles is showing up in the world as, then this feels very connected to the Hermit. It is a card associated with Virgo. It's a Sun and Virgo association. Becoming the tree, like really, as you move out of the automated energies that were rooted in 5 of Pentacles, movement, energy moves differently now. The pace is different. Momentum is different. Action is different when you listen first. And this is learning a slower, more methodical way of being in authentic energy that comes from actual trust in your relationship to yourself, to your environment, and to the world. So that also to me has a one move after the next. How do we move? One moment at a time. Each move highly cared for. Still in process though, still in momentum, not immobile. Slowed down. Hope and fear. 7 of Wands. So we got 2 7s. Yeah, 2 7s here. Um, I think that holding into this new way of being is frightening. And I think that we're always afraid of stances, that poses that we've never held before. Afraid that we'll just jump off the surfboard, we'll just not be able to allow all the sensations to move through us with such a different approach to action, momentum, movement, staying in relationship to audacity, the audacity to trust yourself, the audacity to unshame how you want your energy to move through the world, how you want to act in the world, how you want to have impacts. So it's like this question mark of like, what's scarier, that I hold to it or that I don't hold to it? They're both scary. They're both scary. I think a lot of the times we spend our time being afraid that we won't get the thing or that we won't follow through. But the truth is, I think we're not as scared of that because that is what we already know. So it's comfortable. or more afraid that we'll do the thing that's different from the pattern. And when you can keep your eye on that, that's my skill. Recommend. A macro energy at play is the Three of Wands. I really like this here. Inviting us to be aware of the expansive horizons, of the paths that are open. Where is it expansive? Who is expansive? What rooms are expansive? What voices are expansive? What habits are expansive? What ways of talking to yourself are expansive? What questions you're asking of reality feel expansive? I feel like the answers to those, living those answers, living into what's expansive, creates a very different engagement with everything here in this spread than not. So it's like a bigger invitation here is like to notice how experience shifts according to the degree of expansiveness is allowed. And cutting off access to you, voices and energies that are not expansive, whose presence doesn't feel expansive to you, can really be helpful here. Limiting access to you, limiting your engagement with voices and energies that you walk away from it feeling limited. Like the group point of view around how everything sucks maybe isn't going to help here. And this is where shame can make it hard, because shame makes it hard to give yourself permission. But to unshame here would be to give yourself permission to surround yourself with a different worldview, an expansive worldview, and people who are living expansively. This doesn't mean that they're living unaware of difficulties, pain, injustices, but they're more mature in that they can hold one in each hand. And that's where the skill set is. It's a more mature skill set when you can hold like clear seeing of injustice and expansive ways of relating to the world at the same time. And finally, the outcome is strength. Here, the animal with the woman, the femme-bodied creature. I haven't pulled this one before. It's a bear and not a lion. What I'm hearing is the outcome is like getting to the heart of it. To the heart of it we go. To the heart of it we go. Right in there with the chaos of aliveness, stroking its head. What it seems to say here is the outcome is a much richer, lustier, more provocative, and also kind of frightening relationship to reality, for which we need strength. This is strength. the vulnerability of aliveness. Are you available to expand your capacity for the vulnerability of aliveness? Are you available? I mean, that is like the question I'm always asking myself. Are you available? 'Cause for me, like as a practical person with my Capricorn moon, what good is the wisdom to me if I'm not willing to let it change me? Like, what's the point? What's the point of this beautiful wisdom if I'm not willing to really let it in how I live every moment of my life? That's why I'm repeating that. Are you willing? Because it's the central thing if what you're interested is in emergence. And I like about it is nobody can make you be willing, you know? That's the cool thing. I can't make you be willing. Nobody can make you be willing. We decide. And that is why we actually have agency in our change. That to me is extremely appealing. Because you have agency when you say, no, I'm not. I'm not willing. Cool. Exercise and agency, you know? That's the cool thing. We have agency in our willingness. Um, I wanted to just tell you the overseers for those of you that are like, but what about the overseers? I'll just do these more briefly because there's a lot. First of all, I had asked before what would be the essence in the energy of me making a podcast today when I was like, do I want to do a podcast? I think I want to do one. I pulled Three of Cups. Yeah, just I really love that card. It just I always feel like, yeah, I mean, I think that this is what all my live meetups are, is like we're gathering together to say really meaningful things about belonging to our lives. And it's a Mercury and Cancer card. And it's a heart of it kind of card. Like what's the heart of this belonging, this connection, connecting here to the full moon in Pisces. I also pulled the sun for an overseer. I'll show you. Yeah, it's a illuminating card here for us. It's really bringing us into our aliveness. Our hearts are beating, you know, we're alive. Not everybody's that we love's hearts are beating anymore, you know? Thank you to one of my Living Emergence members and friends who really reminded us of that this week at our meetup. Eight of Cups. Um, one of my students uh, was at the Living Emergence meeting yesterday, and she reminded me how The eclipse is happening in the first decan of Pisces, so it's an Eight of Cups decan. Um, and I was like, oh yeah, that's my emergent note card. Um, it's fun having the sun and the Eight of Cups here both show like the lunar eclipse is the moon covering up the sun. And this relationship between the moon and the sun is at play right now, where we see what's under, you know, we see what's under. Like what I was saying, my daughter would be able to see if underneath my listening, I was like seething with an, am I okay as your mom? Do you like me? Do you love me? Do you think I screwed you up? She'd be able to see all that. She can see under like what's on the outside. So Scorpio superpowers. So there's no lying to her, even energetically, you know? Um, Eight of Cups to me is there's a no under the surface. Like there's something under the surface that's emerging. And with that emergence, you realize what you're walking away from. Person, pattern, self-talk, style, group, job, whatever the no is. Temperance. I think that this has to do with the shaking things up and the molting right now, the moving things around. That is part of the liminality of this time. A lot is being moved around so that we can be more clear. Or it allows us to move, you know, like sediment that's stuck. It just this movement, this alchemy, this passing is clearing things so we can see them and then do the molting. Ace of Swords, so then we can speak with our voices from more clarity, get into our voices, trust that voice and follow it, I say. And ultimately, the last card that wanted to be spoken as an overseer is Five of Swords. Another five. We started with the Five of Pentacles. So this is another one of those like primal pain ways of seeing the world. And through swords, I would associate this with instead of the keyword scarcity, I would put the keyword shame. So, you know, we're recognizing culturally. The more and more I see in Instagram, like all so many people speaking about shame in ways that I really, really like to see. I really like to see this. And we're really starting to understand culturally that shame makes it really hard for us to love each other. It makes it really hard for us to hear each other. It makes it really hard for us to live together and build a just world. It just does. It makes it really fucking hard. And there's no magic wand that's going to make us all unshame. We are literally doing it one person at a time. And that is what the matriarchy is already here is about. Is that one at a time through the field and then the children after that and then the children after that. We are unshaming so that we can create a more loving, listening world. We start with ourselves. Whew. This is the end. I am complete. Yeah, that felt very like. I heard the word stern. Did it feel stern, listener? I have like a Pisces part that was like, I hope I wasn't too stern. uh, Revealing some of my earthier, rockier parts. But yeah, I mean, I am feeling a lot of energy around like, are you seeing this? Like, this is a huge time for you to upgrade the skill sets, like get more mature. Britten is what I'm hearing everywhere from my experience. Like, am I willing to see? Am I willing? Am I willing? Do you want to mature your skill sets, Britten? I do. All right, let's go. Always learning, always learning, always learning. One of my favorite emergence astrology, unshaming Virgo phrases is, what would it be like to give yourself the generosity to always be learning how to be here? I hope that that supports you, listener. If you love Moon to Moon, please leave a review if you haven't yet. Oh my gosh, it's so fun to get the reviews, and they really make a huge difference. It really, really, really helps newcomers to Moon to see that there are new reviews, recent reviews. So I've been so lucky to get a bunch of new reviews in 2026. I want more. I want more. I want more. So if you haven't left one yet, I hope you will do that. If you're listening in YouTube, please subscribe. Please like, please share, please leave a comment. It really, really, really helps. Thank you so much. Take care, take care, take care.